Imagine your motivation is a car. You know exactly where you need to go. You have the map. The destination is clear. The keys are in your hand. You get in, you put the key in the ignition, and you turn it. And nothing happens. Just a quiet, dead click. You try again. Nothing. The car won't start. Now, is the problem that you are a bad driver? Is it that you lack the discipline to drive? Or is it that the car is simply out of gas? This is the silent, daily, and deeply shameful struggle for millions of us who are told we lack discipline. It's the staring at a blank page, knowing you need to write. It's the mountain of laundry you can't bring yourself to start. It is the cycle of making ambitious plans on Sunday night, only to find yourself paralyzed and full of self-hatred by Tuesday afternoon. You call yourself lazy. You call yourself a procrastinator. You believe you lack willpower. But what if you have been blaming the driver, when the real problem has always been the fuel? Today, we are going to talk about that fuel. We are going to talk about a powerful molecule in your brain called dopamine. And we are going to understand that what you have been calling a character flaw is very likely a biological reality. You don't lack discipline. You may be running low on dopamine. Let's start by correcting a huge myth. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. It is the motivation molecule. Pleasure is the feeling of reward you get after you do something. Dopamine is the engine that gets you to do the thing in the first place. It is the chemical of wanting, of seeking, of anticipation, of curiosity. It is the neurological energy that gets you to stand up, to move, to act. It is the go signal in your brain. And here is the crucial part. We all have different levels of it. Due to genetics, chronic stress, burnout, or conditions like ADHD and depression, many people have a lower baseline level of dopamine. Or, their brain's dopamine receptors are less sensitive. This means that to start a task, especially a boring or difficult one, they need a much bigger reason, a much bigger kick to get their engine started. So, your inability to start that task is not a moral failing. It is a state of neurochemical insufficiency. Your car is out of gas. You are not a bad driver. This is how a dopamine-starved brain works in the real world. First, it leads to chronic procrastination. You wait until the absolute last minute, until the deadline is screaming at you. Why? Because that intense last-minute panic floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And that massive stress surge is one of the only things powerful enough to give your dopamine system the jumpstart it needs to finally get the car moving. You are not lazy. You are just using the only fuel you have available: pure, high-octane panic. Second, it leads to a constant search for stimulation. You can't start the boring, 10-page report, but you can get lost for 4 hours in a video game, or scrolling through social media, or going down a research rabbit hole online. This isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your brain is smart. The boring report offers a tiny, delayed dopamine reward, far off in the future. But the video game, the social media feed, the interesting YouTube video, they offer a constant, steady, and easy stream of small dopamine hits. Your brain is not choosing to be lazy. It is desperately seeking the very neurochemical it is lacking, and it is choosing the most efficient and available source. And third, it leads to inconsistent motivation. This is one of the most confusing parts. On a project you are deeply passionate about, you are a genius. You are a superstar. You can focus for 12 hours straight. But when it comes to a simple, mundane task, like making a phone call or doing the dishes, you feel completely paralyzed. This is because your motivation is not tied to your character or your discipline. It is tied directly to the amount of dopamine the task provides. A passionate project is a dopamine-rich activity. It floods your brain with the fuel it needs. A boring task offers no fuel, and your car cannot run on empty. So how do we begin to work with our brain, instead of constantly fighting against it? If you can't force discipline, how do you get the car moving? You don't do it by shaming the driver. You do it by learning to be a clever mechanic. You learn to put small, strategic amounts of gas in the tank. The first strategy is to break it down into dopamine snacks. A huge task like clean the entire house offers zero immediate dopamine. The reward is hours away. So your brain says, No. But a tiny task, like put one dish in the dishwasher, is small enough to be achievable. And the moment you complete it, your brain gives you a tiny hit of dopamine, a reward for completion. That tiny hit is just enough fuel to do the next small thing, wipe down one counter, which gives you another tiny hit. This is what I call a dopamine staircase. You use the reward from one tiny success to fuel the next tiny step. You are not cleaning the house. You are just putting one dish away, and then another. The second strategy is called temptation bundling. You bundle a low dopamine task with a high dopamine activity. I will only listen to my favorite true crime podcast while I am doing the laundry. I will watch one episode of that show I love after I finish answering these 5 emails. You are providing your brain with the immediate reward it needs to get through the task that offers none. You are basically bribing your own brain with its favorite currency. And it works. The third strategy is to manage your dopamine diet. Be aware of cheap, high dopamine activities, especially endless scrolling on your phone. These activities are like neurological junk food. They give you a huge, easy spike of dopamine, but then your baseline drops even lower, making it even harder to find motivation for real-life tasks. It is like eating a bag of candy for breakfast. You will get a quick rush, followed by a crash that leaves you feeling worse. Be intentional about where you get your dopamine. And finally, learn to celebrate the start, not just the finish. For a dopamine-starved brain, the moment of ignition, the act of starting, is the hardest part. So, acknowledge that victory. You opened the document. That is a win. You put on your running shoes. That is a win. You put the one dish in the dishwasher. That is a win. By celebrating the start, you create a positive feedback loop that makes it just a little bit easier to start next time. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. You are not broken. You are a person with a beautiful brain that simply requires a different kind of fuel. The world might not understand. It might keep telling you to just try harder. But you can learn to stop shaming yourself and instead become a compassionate and clever mechanic for your own magnificent mind. The journey is not about forcing yourself into a model of discipline that was never designed for you. It's about learning to gently and strategically put gas in your own tank. If this video was helpful for you,